to dedicate their golden years to our children is a miracle, because middle-class Negroes really don't care, is the knock on those of us who have ascended. But she has been our leader. If Aretha Franklin, and we pray for her as she is in a hospital room in Detroit, Michigan, is the queen of soul, Susan Taylor is the queen of our souls. And we celebrate her as the queen of our souls in Black America. On your feet to celebrate the genius of that great woman. Now, very briefly, we're about to sing a song that we sing all the time. But we didn't always sing it because it didn't always exist, except in our hearts. And the beauty of James Weldon Johnson and his brother J. Rosamond Johnson was the ability to excavate from the substrata of our consciousness some nuggets and pearls of poetry that really expressed what our deep yearning was. Here was a celebration for Abraham Lincoln that some school children in Jacksonville, Florida wanted to put on. So James Weldon Johnson wrote a poem to celebrate Lincoln's birth in 1900 with these 500 school children, and his brother put the poem to music. And as a result of that, this National Negro Hymn became an anthem, but it started rather inauspiciously because James Weldon Johnson says they wrote together. He said he wrote the first verse, he struggled, and then he came up with lift every voice. Not some voices, not my voice, not our voices, lift every voice, because every voice counted. And that means something, especially in our community where blackness is not a monolith. Blackness is not just one thing. Some of us dress up in African garb, some of us dress up in suits, some of us dress up in street clothes, but we're still black people across the board. Some of us like hip-hop, some of us like R&B, some of us like the blues, some of us live the blues. Some of us sing on Sunday morning, some of us sing on Saturday night, some of us in both choirs. Sometimes gospel music really can't speak to your soul. Don't be mad at me. I'm a Baptist preacher. But sometimes it's only the blues that will speak poignantly to who we are. And so poetry is a refusal to allow reason to have the last word.
What?
Because reason has been sanctified by institutions of authority that delegitimate the existence of black people. James Weldon Johnson wrote this poem in 4 years after Plessy versus Ferguson. 4 years after it was suggested that we are not fully human. 4 years later, in the midst of white supremacy, economic injustice, and racial terror, this man had the reckless audacity, talking about the audacity of hope, this man had the audacity to believe that black people could lift their voices because those voices were worthy of being heard. And so he penned this song. He said the second and third stanzas, he didn't even use pen or paper. Now, we celebrate Jay-Z for not even putting it from pen to paper. But long before Jigga did his thing, James Weldon Johnson was coming up with his brilliant and powerful poetry. So when we stand to sing this song, it didn't start off as an anthem, because James Weldon Johnson was such a patriot, and aren't black people always patriots? He didn't want the Negro song to compete with the American anthem. So he refused to call it an anthem, he called it a hymn. Negroes made it an anthem when 20 years later, after he forgot about that song, he said he and his brother wrote the song, they put it away, but little children kept singing it. And because little children kept singing it, 20 years later, their refusal to let that song die got it put in the backs of hymnals of Negro churches across this country, and the NAACP adopted it as its official anthem, and it became the official anthem for African peoples throughout the world, and especially here in America, because the children kept on singing. That's what Susan Taylor wants us to do, to help the children keep singing. And let me quote from our beloved leader Susan Taylor about Lift Every Voice and Sing. When I sing the words that 29-year-old James put to his brother Rosamond's music, I remember that we must never forget that our ancestors were shackled and torn from their motherland, leaving behind all that was familiar and dear to their hearts, that those who paved our way were among the few to survive the trek from the West African hinterland to the coast, the horror of the slave dungeons, the months spent packed in the holds of ships, and the abomination of slavery, the history, the hope, the lessons and faith we must carry with us in order to keep pressing forward. All the things we must remember are there, captured in James Weldon Johnson's 3 pithy verses. Every time I say the words to our black national anthem, I feel renewed and ready again to do battle. Every time I sing those inspiring words, I feel I am rededicating my life to the sameness, wholeness, and forward movement of our people. It cannot be better summarized and more brilliantly articulated as we rise to our feet to remember the powerful words and trek of our people and to tell the truth through song.